Publicists, essentially what they do, they're in charge of getting you into places like with magazines or with publications or with getting you known by different editors from different newspapers and articles, you know. So anytime, for example, if you're reading the Metro and you see like they've got that 60-minute interview with an actor and they've got like set questions that they ask, that's all come through like a publicist dropping their name in. So yeah, so they basically do that stuff like in terms of PR, in terms of raising your profile as an actor, as a person on social media. That's what a publicist firm does. So because Pandora's due out in the UK like next week or in like 8 days or something.
Is that the first or second season?
I said to my...
Is that the first or second season? Yeah. Second season. Yeah.
Yeah. So the season that I'm in every episode of this season coming out. So I thought now would be a good time to try and see what's out there, you know, try and see if people actually give a shit about what I've done or what I look like or the work I'm doing now. And then, you know, I had that conversation with them yesterday, and then this morning, I didn't even know I was going to have any meetings today. That's why I had to postpone this one. But those are really lovely people. They're a big firm. They're a big firm. They have a lot of connections with like GQ and all this kind of stuff. So I was like, oh shit.
Hey, fam.
So
GQ cover. Give it a few years. Hopefully. Who knows? Who knows, bro?
Yeah.
It's a mad world, man.
With the right project, man. You know, because I want to use like my, you know, what I think is quite a unique angle in terms of my career, being like a British Asian actor playing American on American network TV. You know, that's not something I've seen any other British Asian actors do around me, at least. I know they play very normal parts in the UK, but what I'm trying to do is break that completely, and using the fact that people have called me ethnically ambiguous in the past. I'm like, okay, cool, let's use that. And let's use that to open doors where other people are sort of stuck in their stereotypes. I'm trying to subvert all of that and eventually get past it, so I don't have to go through that shit again. Like I've done that stuff. I've done the terrorist. I've done this. I've done that. The dork. I've done the nerd. I'm like, I'm done. I'm past that shit now. I'm not doing that again. So now it's hopefully this thing will give it a couple months, and hopefully they it's all geared towards getting more work essentially. That's the only aim. It's not about getting famous. It's not about getting more followers on Instagram. It's just about, I just want to work, man. It's what I love doing. So
you're about your creative hustle. Exactly, you're about the creative hustle. That's, bro.
Yeah, so whatever it takes for me to get more work and better work. Cool. If I've invested money, if I have to do some meetings that make me feel a bit nervous, then sure, it's the end game is more work. That's it. That's what I love. But yeah,
that's a very like stoic kind of approach, you know, in a way.
It's stoic, but it's stoic, but I'm also incredibly emotional about it. So it's just like trying to, like, you know, man, these meetings make my heart race like massively. You know, I got so nervous. I got another one tomorrow. I'm just like, every time I think about the next step, and all I want is to get to the next level. But every time I think about what I have to do to get to the next level, I get nervous and I have to sort of push myself through that uncomfortable pain barrier before I'm like, it's not actually that bad over here. You know, when you land, you're just like, oh, what was I stressing about? I got this. You know?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I hear you, man. Even starting this podcast for me, like I resonated with that point similarly, like just even getting, because like for me, starting it didn't feel like it would be a big thing because it's like, oh yeah, I'll just start this thing. It doesn't seem that big, but taking the step to start was so nerve-wracking because it's like, oh shit, I'm actually, like, you're actually taking action, and you're like, oh yeah, well, I'm putting my skin in the game now. Like enough of the imagination that was in my head, you have to put skin in the game. But it does, I don't know, you probably had this after your call, you know, when you've done it and you're like, oh yeah, I feel kind of like better for it, you know, like, I'm kind of buzzing.
Yeah.
You have that.
Feel proud of yourself, you know? I think, I do every time, like there's an audition or a meeting or, you know, you're aware that you're putting yourself through something that you had resistance towards, or you're just like, this is, I'm not sure. But the moment you get through it, it's, you know, you can afford to be proud of yourself, you know, for making, even if it's a little step, you know, through the mud to get through, you know, to the other side. Yeah, every step of that is important. Every step of that should be celebrated because it's growth, you know, it's all fucking growth at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Do you mind swearing on this podcast, or I
bro?
swear
You can listen. You can go off the handle, as long as it's nothing too wild where it's like shit.
Yeah.
Feds are gonna be knocking at my door.
Yeah, some pro-Trump sentiments. Yeah. I'm like, no, get out. let's
oh man. To everybody listening, welcome to the Garden of Edun podcast where ideas grow. I'm with my guy. I've known man for a while, you know. I don't know if you remember this, Akshay, but when we were in, I think it was year 7 or something, I remember having lunch in the first week with you, Jamie, and a couple others. Like, I don't know, you know, like one of those memories you have like a flash. I just remember it, like eating those salty chips from the canteen and that.
Oh man,
remember that?
Back before Jamie Oliver,
yeah.
Oh man, dude, that was 17 years ago. About 17 years ago. How flipping mental is that, man?
Wow.
It's not.
Yeah.
I gotta say, your face hasn't changed in 17 years. So well done. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it.
Thank you, bro. I think we're both looking young. If you ask me, like if you told me you were 21, 22, I'd be like, yeah, calm.
Really?
So you're taking care of yourself. Skincare routine on point.
I'm trying, bro. I'm trying.
Melanin don't crack.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I'm here. I'm here with my boy Akshay Kumar, who is an actor and model. Akshay, do you have any more to add to your profile? Ooh. Or is that the nuts and bolts? And let me tell you, this guy is, to me, man has blown. Like,
dude,
man's top tier or on the way to top tier.
On the way, I like that.
On the way to top tier.
Yeah, I don't want to get anyone's hopes up. Yeah, I'm on my way. I've been at it for a long time. But in terms of, I mean, I think I can officially call myself a writer now, which is quite cool. So I'm writing a TV show, which I will probably finish the pilot this month. So I think after that, I've produced a little bit. I really want to get into directing, but I think for now, writing this project is sort of been the blessing of lockdown, where you can sort of like, I have nothing else on. And I think I know every actor I know is writing something in lockdown, because it's like, you've got to do something, right? So, writer. I was a dancer. Does that count? I was briefly a dancer. I don't even remember, like, you know, towards the end of high school, I was dancing quite a lot before I jumped into acting full time. So, but I wouldn't call myself a dancer. I'm an actor who can dance. Let's just say that.
And another thing that we also need to add for anybody who doesn't know, Akshay is a fucking baller. This guy, like on a football pitch, so we used to go play football quite regularly, obviously, with the guys from school. Man. And let me tell you, me and Akshay had a good battle or two, but this guy is hard at football on the pitch. Yeah.
Dude, you're the friggin' wall, man. I don't know anyone that could get past you. Honestly, I remember, like, when we used to play for the school team, you were just a freaking wall. No one, you're like Van Dyke. Honestly, I was like, this guy, like, I'm scared to run at you. You know, I used to be terrified. I used to I have to try and play around you. I'm like, I'm not going up against Dami. I'm sorry, I won't do it. I just won't do it. Oh man, I miss those days.
Good times,
I miss just like, because we had some serious talent in that football team, honestly. And I think I was a bit of a late bloomer with football. Because I started off in goal, do you remember? Like, first few seasons in goal.
Bro, you were a really good goalkeeper. You were a really good goalkeeper.
For a short ass, I wasn't bad.
Yeah.
5'6", I wasn't bad. And then, and then I was like, all right, let me try outfield. And then, you know, it took me a couple of years to adjust to being like on the wing. But yeah, you've always been fucking great. Oh my God. You've always been so good. Like, thank technically, as well as strength and athleticism, technically, dude, you're sick. You're so good.
I'm gonna have to give the I'm gonna have to give the technical to you, man. I'm not gonna lie. This guy's shots, you know, the Ronaldo, the little the dip one, the knuckleball. That's it. The knuckleball. You got that on Smash. I know you got that.
My dad calls me hitting hope because he's like, yeah, you don't know what you're doing, do you? I'm like, I know exactly what I'm doing. He's like, no, you don't. Your technique is like, no, you don't know what you're doing. But no, I think I used to aim for like, just pure, for such skinny legs. I managed to generate a fair amount of power, which was quite jokes. But yeah, man.
But yeah,
Good times.
it's funny though, like going back to that moment, because when we were younger, in my head, I had a few people that I thought, like from that school football team, that I thought, yeah, they're gonna go on to potentially be pro. And obviously there were a couple names like Bradley, Frankie, but I also thought you in goal. I seriously was like, rah, this guy's sick. He's gonna,
Oh shit!
he's got a chance to make it. No, seriously.
Wow.
But then as the years went on, I started, because obviously initially I didn't know that you were also acting as well. So then I started to hear that, Akshay's, trying to become an actor, and he's a really good actor, and that's the field he's taken. And that surprised me, having that initial like bias of thinking that you were trying to become a pro footballer. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
So tell me, what made you want to start acting, and what like inspired you to start acting? Because I always find that origin story quite interesting, of how it even begins.
Yeah. Oh man. I don't. Well, apparently, according to my mum, I know my mum wanted to put me into like stage school. Like I went to a Saturday stage school from like year 6 to maybe like year 8, year 9. And I think she was worried that I was just really quiet as a kid. And so I think she was like, listen, we need to get your sort of social, because I had terrible social skills.
Yeah.
So she was like, let's get you into stage school so you can make some friends. It'll be easier to make friends in high school. And so I was like, okay, fine. Because I was playing football at the time. So I was like, football's fine. Let's just keep playing football. Yeah. And then initially when I, at the stage school every Saturday, it would be like singing, acting, and dance. And initially, I didn't like the acting class at all. Dance was the class that I sort of realized. I was like, oh, I'm actually quite good at this. And it wasn't until sort of just before I left the stage school that I realized that acting is actually really great. It's really fun. And then that happened to coincide with, doing drama at school. Mr. Taylor and Miss Alcott. I don't know if they saw my potential, but they latched onto me. It seemed to sort of push me. They pushed me to just like keep at it, keep going. So I ended up doing it through school, and then we had a couple like Shakespeare performances and stuff like that. We had like GCSE and then A level, and then before I knew it, man, I actually, because so you obviously Jamie's your mate too.
Yeah.
When I don't know if Jamie knows this, he'll probably find out now. But when Jamie's
shout out to Jamie, by the way.
Shout out to Jamie Chandler. I miss that guy. When we were about 16, 17, Jamie signed with like a small acting agency in South London. And then when he told me about it, that was the first time I got really competitive about acting. And I was like, what? So I'm sorry, Jamie, but thank you for inspiring me through competition.
Kick up the butt.
So when I, and I was like, shit, all right. So I wrote to them, like I was 16. I didn't know how to write an email to an agent, but I wrote to them and said, you've just signed I heard about you through my friend Jamie. I would like to audition for you, please. And then I did, and they took me, and Jamie and I ended up working together at the agency. They had like a workshop during one of the summers, and we made this like really cool piece together. It's like this really like a conflict between friends over a girl, and it was really intense. I was like, yo, this is sick.
Yeah.
And then
what do you love about acting, by the way? Sorry to cut
what do I love about it? I don't know. What do I love? I think I love worlds that people create. I love jumping through time. I think that's why I love acting, particularly in sci-fi. I think it's why I keep doing sci-fi. Actually, I really enjoy it. But anything that makes me feel like a kid again. Like I'm all up for your serious dramas or your characters, your human studies, or commentary on the human experience, stuff like that. But essentially, I'm just a big kid, and I want to do. And I love moments where I get to feel like a kid again. So Pandora, for example, the show I just did, we're on spaceships. Yeah. They build the spaceships, we fly the spaceships, we're covered in blue screen and green screen, and you just have a good old time pretending that you're fucking like steering through space. And you're just like, people were paying me to do this. This is insane. This is the most fun I've had in my adult life. So I think that's what I love most is the freedom to just do, because there's this quest for knowing who you are and like finding out who you are, putting time into figuring out who you are. What I love about I learn more about who I am through playing other characters, because when I come back to myself, I realize the differences are clearer. So it's almost a process of going through. Yeah, it's weird. It's almost a process of finding out what you're not, in order to narrow down the list of the things that you are. And what you are is, is great, because humans are great. We're not black, white, in terms of the rules aren't clear for us. No human has a unbreakable ethics or unbreakable characteristics, because we have fight or flight, we have instincts, we have intuition, we have retrospect, we have self-awareness, all these kind of things. So the line's always shifting, the goalposts are always shifting as to who we are in this moment. I could tell you who I am in this moment, but it wasn't who I was last week, and it wasn't who I'll be in a week's time. So I think that the beauty of acting is that you get to encompass someone else and figure out who they are, and then when you come back to yourself, you're like, okay, that's what I do, but this is what. Okay, cool. Do you know what I mean?
Wow, that's really.
It's a very long-winded way.
Yeah, that's really
long-winded way.
Powerful, because I've never heard of a description of that experience through acting, like learning about oneself through acting, because of all the different traits and characteristics and I guess even stereotypes that you have to embody. I guess though that means that with your career, you do a lot of self-reflection on that, because I imagine if you don't get that payback of learning more about yourself if you don't reflect on what you've just put out or what you've just acted out. Let's say, if you don't reflect on that, you won't know, oh, actually this isn't really who I am. I do have these elements, but mostly this isn't who I am. Okay, I'm learning more about myself. Okay, I'm not these things. Or, oh, I really resonate with this character because actually this is quite close to who I am as a person.
But that was like, sometimes you discover traits about yourself through another character, but you realize they, in yourself, they must be very deeply buried or like mixed up with ego and subconscious, but you actually have so much more to you than you realize until you have to play a character. For example, in Pandora, I play this sort of comic joker. He's a bit obnoxious. He's a bit stupid. He's not stupid. He's really intelligent, but he's really obnoxious, and he's really cocky. And I'm like, that's not me. So when I was terrified that I wouldn't be able to pull it off. And then when I did start to pull it off, I was like, okay, I must have some of this in me. I can't just like pull this out of thin air. It must be rooted in something. So and that's what I realized. Everything you do as an actor is rooted. Anything you can play has to be rooted in yourself. And you might not think that you're cocky or obnoxious. You'd be like, oh, I'm not arrogant in the slightest. I'm completely level-headed. No one is completely level-headed. You have to dig a little bit deeper and you'll find it. You'll find ego, you'll find, your hunger for power, you'll find a lot sexuality, you'll find a lustfulness, you'll find insecurities. And, you just some people are so layered that you need to dig a little bit deeper before you start hitting that stuff that really is the meaty, hard shit. But no, that's the discovery. And I think that's the self-discovery in itself, is giving yourself, having an excuse to dig deeper and just be like, oh, I know it's there, I can feel it, I'm just scared to go there. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like the resistance thing. You're feeling resistance towards something because you're scared of what the outcome's going to be. But yeah, I mean, acting, I've never seen acting as a type of therapy directly, but what it does do is gives you an excuse to just discover stuff about yourself that you didn't know before, without the pressure of, okay, now I have to stick to that for the rest of my life, because I don't know who I am. I'll tell you that much for free. I don't know who I am, nor do I ever claim to know who I am. I know what I'm not. I can list you all the things I'm not, but I can't tell you who I am. I think it's a very, it's a lifelong journey for people. And I think seems to be this pressure to discover who you are as quick as possible. And I don't subscribe to that, because I think it's a little bit, I don't know. I think if I'm going off topic here, just let me know, bro. I'm just
keep going, bro. I'm enjoying this, and I'm sure everyone listening is as well.
Sorry, guys, if I'm mumbling. I've got Invisaligns in, so it's a bit like spitty. you know, and you know, people really get into this path of self-discovery, it can make you a bit sort of, it can mean you're operating in a vacuum, because people say, I'm going to focus on myself. By all means, focus on yourself. But truly, for me anyway, the only way I can focus on myself is through interactions with others and exposing myself to uncomfortable situations, because that's how I develop myself. Because, for example, I don't do well in big groups. You know, whenever we were, you know, when we were kids, and we'd have, you know, big group, you know, walks to lunch, or, you know, big group jokes in the playground, I would always struggle with where I fit in this dynamic, or do I need to push to make my voice heard in this group? Because, you know, we're a group of big personalities in that going back to that friends group. We're a crazy bunch of people. Just like the humor was off the charts, and you don't always understand it. And I was like, oh, I don't understand what's going on, shit. You know, but then you just accept it and you're like, this is okay. I can observe. I learn more from observing than I do from trying to make my mark in this group. You know, so that's something I'm constantly battling with. But again, there's you learn about yourself in that. It's not, I'm going to go sit and meditate on top of a mountain for 6 weeks and I'll come back knowing exactly who I am. You learn through going through struggle. You learn through going through difficult situations. So that's what I subscribe to, is learning through forced action, I think.
Yeah. I feel like, yeah, bro, just on a personal level, it's something that I subscribe to as well, that you don't really know yourself because you haven't seen yourself in every circumstance. And there's a lot of things which, like, let's say that you're insecure about, which you avoid, and you avoiding it is avoiding learning about yourself more, because you're not putting yourself in that unknown situation. Or there's just situations that you haven't even, that aren't even in your consciousness as a thing, that you suddenly get thrown into. And then through that, however you respond, you learn, oh, okay, this is me in this situation. I didn't know I was that resourceful. I didn't know, wow, that I could feel so scared, or wow, I didn't know I was so strong or assertive, or damn, I was a bit meek there. Those little things, I think, I agree with you. And obviously there's an infinite amount of situations that could unfold. So it is a lifelong journey, man. And just to go back on the self-discovery through acting, because was that something that was natural to you? Like, was that something that you were instinctively doing, or was it something that you maybe got a seed of inspiration to do from seeing someone else do it? Because like I said before, it's not something that I've typically heard. And it could have just been your, you know, natural inquisitiveness that inspired you to do that. So how was that just something you found yourself doing?
I think it happened sort of in the last maybe 5 or 6 years. Because I know, you know, when I got out of drama school, I had like no idea who I was, because I had no idea what I was doing that whole time I was at drama school, if I'm completely honest. I got lucky to sign with an agent before I started, which is something that most people do when they leave, or when they're about to leave, is when it's like, oh, I have to sign with an agent, where I was, for some reason, like everything else, I did it backwards. But I didn't really, it keeps happening. But I didn't really know what I was doing consciously until I was like 25, and suddenly something dropped. I don't know what happened, but you have one of those moments where you're not just skating through, you know, you're seeing scripts in a different way. You're seeing characters you auditioning for or going to play in a different way. And you start to, as opposed to like trying to force something out, you're just being like, I have this in me. I know, because I remember I've been like this. For example, going back to being like arrogant or cocky, I try my best not to be those things, because I don't find them attractive in other people, so I don't want to do the same thing. But I know I have it in me. So when you start sort of relating it back to yourself and creating little pillars for yourself, creating little safety nets of, this is what I can fall back on here, or this is what I can fall back here, and I trust my technique. But I think it comes down to belief in my ability. So I took a bit of a dip around 25 as well. I think I took a huge dip in my confidence in my career, because oh, sorry, that's how reminder going on. I didn't work for like a year and a half, and I was broke. I was the poorest I've ever been in my life. I was struggling to make rent. I was struggling to keep like part-time jobs to pay the rent. I wasn't getting any auditions, and life was shite. Saying that, that was the biggest turning point in my life. Was that period of 1.5 years where I absolutely lost contact with anything sort of creative. I came out of that stronger than I had been for the first 25 years of my life.
Yeah.
So I think everything after that, first of all, I have a absolute renewed appreciation for work, and any time I get to do it, and I think I'm more aware now more than ever the importance of working when you're not working. Right. So, and expressing, through writing is something that, is something that, because I've struggled to commit to long-term projects in my life, because sometimes that sort of you look for that immediate gratification, because we now live in a world where you can get gratification very quickly.
Yeah.
Thank you. But things that you can commit to longer term. Once you pin yourself down in that, I think letting your brain just do its thing and then observing your brain doing its thing is like, damn, that came out of me. Holy crap. Cool. Keep going, But yeah, self-discovery is something, the correlation between my struggle and my self-discovery is very sort of strong, I think. I don't advise it. I don't think it's necessary to discover more about yourself. Like, you have to go through hardship, but I think it's, in retrospect, viewing hardship as a learning curve is essential, because I no longer regret that time. I just vowed, like, okay, I'm never going to put myself through that again. But at the same time, as difficult as that time was, I wouldn't be me now without that horrible bit in the middle.
100%. 100%, man.
I don't know if that's your question, but
no, it definitely does. I think hardship definitely, like, it definitely because it forces you to have to face up to something. Because you obviously, we were talking about the fact that with a lot of, I guess, if you're not in the mode of self-discovery, or self-reflection, you find it easy to avoid these things that can be uncomfortable or unknown to you. But when you're in hardship, it's like life saying, listen, we don't give a fuck if you don't want to face something. Here it is, and you have to look at it. And in that moment, I guess you're forced to either look at yourself or delusion and kid yourself that things are better than they are, and eventually, obviously, that only lasts for so long before it becomes
always comes back to bite you, man.
Immensely self-destructive. Yeah, exactly. Before it becomes self-destructive. And even just thinking about, like, things in my life as well, I've resonated with that a lot. Like, just being in a really shit situation and then having to say, like, I don't want to do that again, whether it was emotional pain or, like, in a really tough financial situation, or just a situation which you felt like you were being suffocated and you didn't know how to get out. You have because you have to do something, right? You have to take the action. And I think it comes back to, you mentioned it earlier, about learning through action, and it just forces you to do that. So no, that definitely resonates, and I think it's probably gonna be the thing that helps most people get into that zone, right? The hardship.
I hope so, yeah.
I do hear that. And alongside that, obviously, in an acting context, is that also what you use to improve as an actor? Because one of the things that I find, I personally find really fascinating about creatives in general, and is why I started the podcast, is not only what it is you do, but how you kind of train yourself to get better at certain things. So in your case, as an actor, how do you kind of, what do you do to improve your skill set? Like, what steps do you take to work on your craft? Because I think I always just find that interesting, the nuts and bolts of how you get better.
Yeah. And that is sometimes the most intimidating part, because, as we said, working on the nuts and bolts requires facing yourself over and over again, and sometimes it can be really knackering and you're not in the headspace for it, but essentially you do benefit from it. In terms of what I do, I would say, and I have to credit this to my ex-girlfriend, She started this. She started going to this really great acting class in London, and at the time I was really like, hell no, I'm not going to any acting classes, because I had like 3 years of drama center training trauma in my body still, and I'm like, nope, I ain't acting in front of a group of students. Nope, I ain't doing it. They're gonna judge me. I don't like this. I'm not doing it again. So for about a year, she was like, just come to a class, you know. And I was like, nope, I'm fine. I'm good. And then eventually something happened. I don't know what happened. I was like, okay, cool, fuck it, I'll go. And it took a lot of me getting over my own ego and my own trauma of like, you know, because the drama center for me was a lot of breaking down in tears, storming out of rooms, breaking things.
Jeez.
That was me, man. Like,
do you want to swing into that experience?
We can get to that. I don't want to give them a bad name, because they're bloody amazing they're amazing as a school. I was just very ill prepared, because I was the only one there who'd come fresh out of Chadwell Heath sixth form.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everyone else was a couple of years older. I'd like lived a bit more. I'd been through life a bit more. So yeah, I just was ill prepared for that, man. I emotionally was just like throwing myself everywhere, like pulling myself apart, and you know. So that was the trauma that I was dealing with in terms of when it came to being asked if I wanted to go to an acting class. And in the UK, if you've been to drama school, most people don't do acting classes afterwards. There's a bit of a elitism about it. Like, oh, I've done my time, darling. I don't need to do that again. I'm fully formed. I'll learn the rest of the job. But in the US, because they don't really have acting schools besides like Juilliard and Yale, I think, or maybe something like that, everyone does classes. Every actor does acting classes, and they pay coaches like shit tons of money to do these classes. And I was just like, yeah, but, all right, cool, I'll give it a go. And then within a couple of weeks, I was like, yeah, this feels like growth. This is uncomfortable. This teacher is pushing me, and I haven't been pushed in a while, you know?
Yeah, so, like what kind of things were you doing? What kind of things were you learning that were improving your skill set?
So it was an approach to the technique of acting that was a mixture of different things that I'd learned during drama center, but it was also very nicely consolidated in this 12-step process. And the technique is called the Ivana Chubbock technique. Ivana Chubbock is an American acting coach who's worked with every Oscar-nominated actor winner in the US. You know, everyone. So she's the shit. You know, and everyone knows it. So her teacher in the UK, the guy who runs class in the UK, his name's Patrick. He's wonderful, and he's an incredibly intuitive, insightful teacher. He's one of those guys who like takes one look at you and just gets you, and is terrifying. It's fucking terrifying. And I'm like, oh my god, he sees all my bullshit. Okay. And he's like, no, you know. So he gave me the confidence to be like, look, I can see that you've worked. I've got your CV in front of me. I know you're with this agent. I know you got this. But hey, you want to be better? This is how you get better. So to have someone sort of appreciate where I'm at, but also be like, okay, but if you want more, you got to reach for this, bro. Like, you got to push yourself for that. And that was like that sort of confidence, that reassurance that you are good, but and also the trust that he knows that you can be even better than you think you are. So that with that mentality in mind, that ethos, I sort of like attacked it as hard as I could. And yeah, you know, it was really uncomfortable. Like, it's a new technique. There are bits of it that I disagreed with, but try to like force through and be like, okay, I can still, because you still have to run with instincts at the end of the day. When all else fails, your instincts will guide you, I believe anyway. Some people think the opposite. Like, if your instincts fail you, then you have the technique beneath you as your safety net. But he encouraged both, you know, and it was all about just being real with the other person in front of you. And that essentially is acting at the end of the day. That's what it is. So once I got over the trauma of like, you know, my heart would still race every time I had to go up and do a scene with my new scene partner. My heart would just be like fucking exploding in my chest. It was like I was on stage.
Wow.
You know, yeah. And this is after, you know, 7-8 years of being a screen actor. Suddenly I feel like I'm on stage again, and I'm just thrown back to being my 18-year-old self in front of my classmates at drama school, and I'm losing my shit, and I can't act. I can't get my words out. All that sort of trauma came back to hit me. And then you get the first line out, and then you're fine. What the hell? I just built all that up in my head for no reason.
That's really interesting, man, because I like from the outside looking in, it sounds wild to me that you would be getting nervous to do a scene. Like, it sounds wild to me that that's the case.
Yeah, man, it's terrifying. But eventually you just come to trust that, okay, I've done the work. And I think bottom line is, if you've done the work, you have nothing to be afraid of, you know? So once I wrestle with that, and the same happens when I'm on screen, you know, when I've done the work and I know my lines, I know what I want, I know what I'm going for, you have permission to do whatever the hell you want, essentially. So yeah, that's sort of how I go about. So there's the classes now, which I was doing up until Pandora happened, and now I'll probably get back to again once the world calms down a bit. And then learning on the job is the other part of growing. You know, some people, especially with screen actors, when you're on a job, what they do is they do a take and then they run to the monitor and be like, okay, let me watch my performance so I can fix it. But I'm not secure enough in myself to run to performance every time, because knowing me, I'll just look at myself and be like, oh, my beard looks weird, or my nose looks funny from this angle, and I'm not worried about performance. I'm too worried about aesthetically what's going on.
Right.
But so I try and give like different things every time, every take. If you've got 5 takes, try five different versions. If you've got one sort of landmark moment that you know works because it feels right, or you're getting a reaction from people, or someone tells you it's great, then you know you're onto something. But yeah, so that's the other time where you really learn about what works and what doesn't work. It's essentially, it's down to what translates to an audience. That's your fundamental priority there is, does what you're feeling convey itself to an audience? Are they picking that up? Are they with your character here? Have you lost them because you thought you were doing this, but it actually comes across as this? So especially through the screen medium, you have to be quite aware of visually what you're doing and behavior and stuff. Behavior, because you're under the microscope, man. Like you're here.
Yeah.
This is all they're seeing is your face. So you're in complete control of what they see and what they're going to read into your face, and there can be a lot of pressure with stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's something you learn to deal with.
Do you still?
Again, I don't know if I'm answering your questions at all, dude.
No, this is good intel, like, for anybody who's listening who is maybe at the beginning of their acting journey. Like, for example, I did a podcast with an actor a few days ago, and he was just talking about some of the experiences he had and things that I didn't know, and I was thinking, wow, if I was someone who wanted to get into that world or industry, just little good nuggets. And I think something like this as well, even just knowing that it's normal to feel like nervous, because you said you started acting school when you were young, yet still at at the drama center, and then going to the classes that you mentioned, you still got nervous doing the on-stage performance in the classroom environment, which like sounds wild in the sense of, oh, you'd think you'd have washed that all away, and like now stepping on stage would be like walking into your bedroom or something. But actually you still get that feeling of being nervous. Do you still get it now? And if you do, how do you generally like cope with the nervous feeling itself?
Yeah, I still do get it now, man. I did my first play in 7 years back at the beginning of 2020. So we rehearsed from January, and we did it in Feb before lockdown happened. And that was the first time I was on stage again, and I was terrified of going back on stage. And I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna, like, it was a small stage, it was a small audience, but even then man, it's exhilarating. It's treading that fine line between exhilarating and you want to run away and pee in the corner type thing because you're so scared. So I try to do very sort of simple life things beforehand. I make sure I have this, like, for every character I play, there's a playlist that I have where I create over the rehearsal process or as I'm doing character research, and I have that playing on. I have my headphones on.
Wow. Is that for different emotions of a different type of character? Oh, wow.
Yeah. I try to represent the different sides of either the character's memories or the character's experiences. If they've experienced loss, I try to think about what music represents loss for me that I can sort of translate into then. Funnily enough, a lot of that music is Indian music. A lot of my character music ends up being like from Bollywood films, or songs that I listened to when I was growing up that my parents used to play or my grandma used to play. So you could argue it's probably quite sentimental stuff, but it's good for, it's good for sort of getting your character grounded in their own emotional world and their memories and stuff like that. So I make sure that's playing constantly. I try to make sure that I'm happy with the way I look. For example, for this play we did in Feb, we were playing army soldiers in the Gulf War in 1991. So I had to make sure like my kit was solid. Like I had to make sure the t-shirt was tucked in perfectly, the boots were done properly, the laces were done, all your props are in the right places. If you've got a gun, you know where your gun is, and you've mapped out your journey of where you go. So you're working in the logistics and doing all your like double checking, like they do in the military. Actually, they triple check everything. Triple check that your gun is clean. If it's not clean, then clean it. Triple check that your stuff is where it's meant to be, because the last thing you want, especially on stage, is for a prop to not be where it's supposed to be. And it's on those moments you're just like you're mid-flow and you're going, you turn around and your gun's not where it's meant to be, and you have to pick that gun up because you need it. And you're just like,
shit.
You freak, you're like, fuck, where's my gun? Where's my gun? And then you just like, you're completely off your game by that point, man. So I learned that to just be really anal about knowing where your shit is. You're being in charge of, especially in theatre, is really important. And I think they encourage, because budgets are lower and you don't have like millions of crew members running around doing everything for you. Knowing your own shit and knowing where your shit is so important. So once you know that, you can kind of be like, okay, all that has to happen now is for the lights to come up. The rest is up to me.
Yeah.
So that's theatre, and then screen is kind of similar, although the only difference is you got other people who can kind of, if you forget something, you just cut and you go again. So that your focus is so narrow. For the sake of literally 10 seconds, your focus has to be like absolute. But either side of those 10 seconds, nothing's happening. You're just yourself, and you're just trying to create that moment again and again and again. That's essentially what takes are about. So it's kind of like theatre for me is like a long distance marathon race, where it's constant focus, it's constant energy, just like you're just pulling it out of yourself, like you can't afford to let it drop. Whereas screen, you could argue the energy, because it's an intense short burst, is 10 times more intense than when it is on stage. So making sure you eat properly, making sure you've done a massive shit beforehand, so you don't have to do it. Like, make sure your stomach feels right, making sure you worked out when you were meant to work out, because this is going to affect the way you walk, or this is going to affect how you stand or how you feel about yourself. All these like little things that sound so trivial, but essentially when it comes to action, all your shit's in place the way you specifically need it to be. And then you're going to get nervous anyway. After even doing all of that, you're still going to get a little bit nervous. And that's the bit where you're like, it's cool. This is just because I'm excited now. It's not because I don't know where my shit is, or I don't know, I don't feel hench today, therefore I can't do the scene properly. It's just, you get caught up in your neurosis. But once you sort of figure out your own routine of things, and I think that's why particularly stage actors get very superstitious with their own method and their own rituals before going on stage.
Did you have
tie
one?
The shoelaces through? I think I had a couple. I think I would have to go and smoke beforehand. I would have to make sure I'd done a massive shit. I'd have to do a line run from the start of the play to the end of the play with the other guys in the cast. So we'd have to come in. For example, if we're going up, if the show starts at 7:30, I would be there at 5, even if no one else is there, and just make sure all my shit's together. And then they would come and maybe about half. Oh, someone's at my door. Amazon delivery. Sorry. Can we pause it for a second?
Yeah, we can pause. I'll just cut this bit out, bro. I'll just cut this bit out. It's calm.
Okay. All right, we're good.
You good?
So I ordered an Amazon Fire Stick and it just turned up.
Oh, sick.
Yeah. But so they're like, make sure you do the line run from start to finish. And everyone's like, you've been doing it 12 days in a row now, and you can tell people are reluctant to do the line run because they're like, yeah, we know our lines, man, come on. And we'd always have to be like, line run, yeah, cool, now go. Yeah. And then an hour later, done. And then everyone's like, all right, we're good. And then what was really interesting, the last thing we do just before the audience came in, Rob, one of the actors, made us do this haka. You know, the rugby haka that the New Zealand team does.
The thing.
Yeah,
yeah,
like, really.
Yeah.
And we do that before every show, and you just get so hyped. Because I remember you used to get really hyped listening to, what was that one song you always used to listen to?
What, Next Time?
Oh,
Ten Petite.
Next Time, that was it.
Yeah.
When you used to listen, I would see your energy just like shoot through the roof every time you listen to Next Time. So, but that was our Next Time.
Yeah.
After you've done that, you're ready to like take on the world. You know, you're ready to just kick the shit out of this thing.
You lot are doing this backstage, right?
And we're doing it on stage before the audience comes in.
Oh.
Yeah. And then literally 3 seconds later, stone silence. We're all sitting in our positions as like nothing's ever happened, and the audience is coming in. They're like, "Oh, it's a lovely set," and we're just sitting there like,
"Go on, buzz in." Yeah.
Yeah. So that was it. That was the ritual, man. And then you learn what works for you. Again, about self-discovery, you learn what works for you through creating routines and rituals for yourself. So yeah, that's one way to deal with nerves.
Wow. That was a very, very comprehensive guide for anybody who wants to deal with nerves. And the funny thing about it is, at the end of all of it, you're still gonna feel it a little bit anyway, but you just gotta roll. Just gotta roll.
You just roll, man.
Yeah.
It's sink or swim, you know.
So I just want to swing back, because you brought it up earlier about the drama school experience, and you know what, it's something that I actually had in my notes, the fact that you went to drama school, and I was gonna ask how if you thought the formal experience of going to like an institution was beneficial, or whether it was like a determining factor. And obviously you mentioned some of the experiences were very challenging and left a few scars. So it would be really interesting to learn about that, because like you said, for example, in the USA, they don't have the same level of institutions as you said that we do over here in the UK. And obviously there's still a lot of prominent actors from the States and I imagine elsewhere in the world. So how do you think what do you think its importance is in the general career of an actor to go to those institutions? What are the things that you gain from it? And then obviously what are the things that you think you have to, that maybe are lacking there and that you have to build up in your own career as you go forward?
Yeah. Oh man, that's a really good points to cover. To be honest, I think it comes down to the individual as well, a lot of the time, because some people, like one of my idols, Heath Ledger, was an Australian actor, and they have some very strong institutes in Australia, and he shunned formal training his entire career, and he is infamous, and he's incredible. Some people can do that. I think drama schools in general, the good ones anyway, Drama Centre is one of the best ones. They're incredible. It depends. It's really tricky, this one, because I can only speak personally. I know some people have wonderful experiences at drama school. Some people have terrible experiences, and some people could just be like, yeah, it's fine, I got through it. But there's so much to learn. I think sometimes it's overwhelming how much there is to learn. That isn't strictly about acting. There is a history of acting, there's a history of theatre, the history of performance, where theoretical approaches to acting and performance come from. It's all incredibly complex, and it's all incredibly intellectual. And my biggest thing was I felt like I was too young to be able to. At the time, I could get my head around physics equations, but I couldn't get my head around acting, because we were doing physics at the same. Just before drama school, I was doing physics at A level with you. So my brain just couldn't deal with everything that was being thrown at me. But essentially it grounds you, and like we talked about safety nets earlier, it grounds you in a methodology and understanding of creating characters, and theatre as well, because most drama schools are quite theatre based. You gain a real understanding about being on stage, how to be on stage, technically being in charge of your own instrument, i.e. your voice, your breath, your body, your face. So when you're on stage, again, specifically stage, you can command it. You can command the stage. You can give your best performance because, you know, you might be giving an amazing performance, but if they can't hear you in the second row because your voice isn't strong enough, then you're lost. Do you know what I mean? So it's all about technically getting you up to scratch.
Yeah.
For life as an actor. The main issues I had with drama school, personally, is that I don't feel like any of them have enough focus on screen acting. I've always known I've wanted to be a screen actor, and I don't know. I just got it in my head that I was going to be a screen actor, so that's what happened. But at the time,
it's happening. It's happening.
Yeah, it's happening.
It's happening.
I wrote my own story. Yeah. So I think drama schools need to appreciate that a lot of, not just because of COVID and that theatres are generally closed, but a lot of actors are going to be screen actors, at least for a time. A lot of theatres, people who want to be stage actors or end up on the national stage or the Old Vic or whatever, at some point or another, they're going to be on screen, whether it's just like doing Holby City or EastEnders or something, or they're doing Marvel films. At some point, everyone's going to, because everyone needs to make money.
Yeah,
there's no money in theatre unless you're like directing the thing. But yeah, so my issue is that they weren't, no drama schools that I know of were putting enough emphasis on the screen acting side of actors' lives. You know, these are young, budding, hungry actors. They're going to do what they have to do. The least you could do is prepare them for all aspects of the industry. And for me personally, like I said earlier, because I was so young and so naive, and you know, I hadn't really left school. You know, I'd been in school by that point from 3 till 21. So my whole life had been institutionalized. So I began to really resent the system. Whereas a lot of people were kind of coming back to the system for the first time in a few years. So it was like, oh, look, there's structure in my life again. That's nice. I don't have to create my own schedule. Whereas I'm like, I'm so sick of structure by this point. I just wanted to like burn the structure down and just run. Yeah. But no, like I learned so much, man. I'm not gonna lie. Despite all the hardship I had, and may probably put myself through, being so sort of young and immature, I learned so much. You know, I wouldn't be there without the basis, the foundational training that any drama school worth its salt provides. You know, that's you know the huge one in terms of acting methodologies is the Stanislavski methodology, which is a Russian. What's the word? I don't know what the word is, but basically he's basically like the father of acting, the father of modern day acting. So you know, in terms of understanding him and then the techniques that have come from him and inspired by him, understanding all of those, and then you get to learn about plays and different playwrights, and you get to perform these things. I'd say one of the major perks is that you get to play characters that, as a professional, you're never going to be allowed to play. You know, if I'm a brown British Asian guy, I'm never going to play a Russian soldier, for God's sake. But,
do you know what I mean? Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you get to play a Russian soldier in like a Chekhov play, which is insane. So you're like, well, it's fun. It's fun. I know I can't do this for real, and no one's going to pay me to play a Russian soldier, but hey, it's fun, you know?
Yeah.
So you get to really experiment, and you have ultimate permission to go to get things wrong. That's probably the best thing about drama school. You can get things wrong, and no one's going to fire you. No one's going to. You might get like a bad grade, or you might get like you know. But also, yeah, the idea of grading at drama school for the sake of like UCAS points or passing the year or failing the year or graduating is ridiculous for me. I don't know how you can grade creative work. You know? Like how do you give like a piece of art an A star or a C? It's completely subjective. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel you on that.
You know?
That's interesting. I feel like one of the really interesting parts was the fact that not being prepared for screen acting actually. That's I think that will be quite helpful for anyone who was thinking, oh yeah, I want to go to drama school because I want to be in Hollywood, let's say, or on a popular Netflix series. Then maybe that's not the path for them to go through drama school potentially.
yeah, I mean, like, you know, it may not. There's definitely no direct road from drama school to Hollywood, or drama school to Netflix, or drama school to Disney. But what it does do is, it, you know, if you have that basic training in the UK, actually no, apparently more in the US. Like, if for example, when I signed with my manager recently, he was like, "Oh, you went to Drama Center? That's cool. That's like really, you know, people know about Drama Center in the US." I'm like, really? Why? But apparently, you know, because they don't have a formal training in the US. Like, when British actors, the reason why British actors are valued so much in the US now, you know, they're everywhere. They're playing American actors. They're playing American actors on everything. Is because we have that basic formal training, which means that our ethics and our work ethic, more specifically, are all about the work. You know, you know, for every actor in the US, in the UK, there are 10,000 hopeful actors in the US, in LA specifically.
Is that the ratio? That's the ratio. I think they've started
something mad.
Wow!
Like everyone in LA apparently is an actor. Wants to be an actor. The thing is, I think, you know, I think it's valuable in the sense that it teaches you a work ethic. It teaches you to just be about the work. You know, don't worry about fame. Don't worry about popularity. It grounds you in the really kind of shamelessness of just being about performance, just being about my character, which is all well and good. It's all well and good to sort of get you committed and get your hands dirty, because it's all very long, painstaking, lonely stuff. Once you get your hands dirty a bit, then you can start to trust yourself in your performance, and you can look out at the world again and then be there with everything else that's happening. So there are moments where you know, that's a typical phase of creating a character, is that really you just shut down from the world, and your world becomes like just you and your desk and your notebook and books that you have to read. So it's that's the lonely part. And Drama Center taught me that, for sure. Drama Center taught me a whole bunch of stuff. Even when you get to the end of drama school, you realize there's a lot of things that work for you, and even more things that don't work for you. So no one says you have to carry on all those things after you leave a drama school. You just pick what works for you, and you work on those. And then sometimes you'll be surprised when you approach a character or a script, and you'll be like, "Oh, this technique that I hated for 3 years, I suddenly get it now. Applied to this concept, this project makes sense." So yeah, I've had a couple moments like that where I'm like, I hated this thing, and I suddenly it sort of unlocked my brain, and it's gone full circle, you know. So you know, it all lurks in the back of in the recesses of your mind, and sometimes when you shine a light on it, it means something to you, and it's like, okay, I'm glad I did learn about this, because I slagged it off for 3 years, and I hated the class, and I thought the teacher was stupid, and now you're like, oh, okay, cool.
You draw upon that. You draw upon that experience and knowledge, and it's like, oh, this is actually, I get it, and now it's super useful that I had this. So
it's like application versus theory. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, like you're an engineer by trade. You know all about application of you know, physics theories and maths theories, and you know, once you have if you know the theory, that's all well and good, but it's not until you're put into a setting where you have to apply said theory, where you can be like, oh, I get it now. That's okay. And suddenly, you know, from then on, you can apply it to anything. You know?
Yeah. No,
so that's. Does that make sense? I don't know why that analogy seems to work. But,
it makes a lot of
sense. My brother's constantly talking about. It's not enough to just know the theory, because he's doing chemistry at Warwick. He's like, it's all about application. My degree is all about application. It's not about theory. No, that's not me. I'm application. So he's constantly like, how do you apply it? And he quizzes me and tells me, how do you apply this, or how can you apply this to your work? And I'm like, okay, good point. Here we go.
Yeah, it's all in the application, and that comes through action, isn't it? Comes through action.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Full circle, that shit.
Yeah. And from what I'm hearing, especially around the fact that you through going through the institution, you've learned a lot of like sinking in and really becoming deeply embedded with your characters. What are your favorite type of characters to play then? Because you must have done that with quite a range of different type. So what do you like acting as, or what type of characters? And why?
Honestly, my favorite characters are the ones that have like crazy. I love playing American characters just because it takes me so far away from. It's great for work, it's great for my career and stuff, but on top of that, it's really great in terms of taking you out of the British formalities that we've lived in our whole lives. Because as playing an American, you have to force yourself to feel like you're being bigger when you're not. To an audience member, you're just being American, but to a Brit who knows you, you're like, oh my god, like Jesus.
Yeah,
you're so expansive. Americans are so expansive. That's one of the best things about them, is that they're so expansive in themselves and they own themselves so well. So playing Americans really helps me do that. And then again, learning through the character, taking it back to myself and being like, I can afford to be a bit more expansive, and no one's going to think I'm just some eccentric nut job. But I love playing, the character I played on Pandora, Jet. He is just so much fun, man. He was so much fun. He just like, he's funny. He's super sensitive. He's passionate. He's loyal. He has loads of action sequences. He gets beat up a few times. He beats up a few times. He's wielding guns. He's flying spaceships. So I'm a big action junkie, So I love action sequences, and I love doing my own stunts. So I tried to do my own stunts. Only one time they didn't let me, which really pissed me off. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know you were doing stunts. Oh wow. You're doing your own stunts.
A couple projects in the past. Yeah, I love my own stunts, man. So
is that like, have you done anything? What's the most dangerous stunt you've done then? That you were thinking, oh shit, actually, this is a bit mad.
Well, it wasn't dangerous per se. It was more like it was quite a complex choreographed thing to do with like timing movement with camera. So it was on this project I did called the Indian Detective. With Russell Peters, the comedian, which was that was jokes. That was a lot of fun. But in that one, I had to do a fight scene with Russell Peters, and he's a jiu-jitsu flipping champion, for God's sake. Like, you wouldn't know it.
Jeez.
But
I had no idea. No idea.
So we had this crazy fight sequence, and then we end up flying through this door and down these steps, and then I have to roll up and then point a gun at him in like one move. So it was like combat roll into drawing a gun, and then he's kind of like stuck mid getting up. So that was crazy. That was nuts, man. I hurt myself a few times, and I had like loads of cuts down my arm and stuff. But everyone tends to run up to me like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not made of glass. It's cool. Like, I bleed. It happened. It's okay." Because I was going to get like blood poisoning. It's all good.
Yeah.
And then there was another one where on the same job where I had to, I was running through this big mansion because like my uncle's chasing me because I've messed up and he's trying to kill me. So I run through this mansion, and I have to jump out of a window and onto a moped and take off before he gets too close to me.
Oh shit! So, that sounds really fun though.
It was crazy. It was jokes. Oh mate, it was so fun. And just mad shit like that where it's like high intensity. You've only got a certain number of takes. You have to land on this foot at this point. Otherwise, you won't be able to make this jump. And like all that complicated stuff. I love it. Because it's for me, I came before I was an actor, I was a dancer. So it's like choreographed. It's like choreographed fight. Choreographed acting.
Yeah.
So one of the things I want to do is to do more stunt stuff, more action stuff. I mean, in terms of like action idols, I say Keanu Reeves is like by far my stunt idol, my action idol. Because that dude and him and Tom Cruise do their own shit all the time,
Yeah.
And they're still going, and people respect it. I think there's a level of like respect for the craft that you have for actors who just put themselves through the shit in order to make sure they've got it down. So yeah, that's my favorite kind of shit. And then you've got, I really want to do a romantic film. I really want to be like a romantic lead at some point. It's kind of hard being Asian. They don't really like Asians, like South Asian romantic leads.
Oh man,
it's not really a thing. So I'm working on it. A couple of people have done it. It's a glass ceiling. I'm trying.
That was something I was gonna ask about actually, because obviously, we do live in the real world, and racism is a thing, and also stereotyping and typecasting and all these things happen. So for yourself, how have you navigated that, and what has been your experience in the acting world? How would you advise to overcome, if you can, those things?
I think what you said there, if you can, is probably the key part. I think some people were more successful at overcoming than others. I've definitely been through it a lot. You know, I still go through it. Sometimes I get an audition through for something and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, roadman from Ilford. I'm sorry, you know, I'm going off a part like that. I'm like, I'm from Ilford, but I'm clearly, look at me, I'm not a roadman. What are you doing? And some
oh my god. Akshay, a roadman.
Just like,
fucking hell.
Yeah, exactly. See? Exactly. That'll take a lot of work. I'm up for it. I'm up for the challenge, but you know, I just know that's not what I'm aiming for.
You know where it's coming from. You know where it's coming from, like them putting you in that role. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I have to fight. And I've had to over the years. You know, after I did in the early days, you know, you can't really say no in the early days of your career. You shouldn't say no in the early days. You know, if you're only going off stereotypes, play the stereotypes. You know, play them, because you might be working with some incredible actors that you admire. It's unfortunate you're playing, for example, a terrorist in that show or in that film. But look who you get to act with. Look who's directing it. Look who else is in it. You know, look who's the studio. So sometimes in the early days, especially, you're definitely taking hits for the team.
Yeah.
Just to build like credits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Wow. Right, bro.
It's not COVID, I promise.
Yeah, I can't transmit over Zoom, so you're safe, bro.
Yeah, it's that 5G. It's coming to get me. Oh god. And yeah, so I definitely, you know, in the early days, especially if you're a non-white actor, if you're part of the BAME community and you're trying to make it, you know, be prepared that in the early days you will be going off for parts that no one's really put a lot of thought into. You know, they just need to have this guy.
Yeah.
You know, they need to tick some boxes. They need to tick the diversity box. And I've been the token brown dude or the token colored person in this cast. And you're just like, at the time, you're not really aware of it, but in retrospect, you're like, oh, that's why I was, you know, was it because I was good? No, it's because I was brown. Maybe it was both. I don't know.
Yeah. Probably both.
Eventually, as you start, hopefully both. Yeah. Just happy coincidence. But, you know, after a while, you start to, I think once you've sort of paid your dues and done those things that are expected of you to do, and I think that applies to everyone really, you know, if you're, you know, if you're a slightly nerdy looking guy and you play nerdy parts, for a time at least, you have to accept that, okay, that's how it's going to start. And that's okay. Because there are lessons to be learned if you can perfect your version of playing that stereotype, then you know, in one respect, you're guaranteed to be working all the time, because every show needs that part, or every film has that part available. So that's one way of looking at it. And I know people who have made careers off just being good at playing the one thing that they look like.
Right.
I don't really, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, so you have like Seth Rogen's perfected playing the funny guy or the funny Jewish guy, and now he's directing his own stuff. He's the lead in his own stuff. So he perfected the stereotype, and a lot of people do that way. A lot of people I know have done that too. I don't really have that luxury. I don't think. I don't really have. It might be down to the way I look, which isn't typically Indian, and it isn't. Obviously, it's not Caucasian. It's a weird mix of things in between. So I've never been able to, even if I wanted to, pin myself down to a stereotype that I know I can play and get work every time I audition for it. Mine's a bit, you know, my CV is incredibly, luckily, very varied because of the way I look, I think. But sometimes I don't get stuff that I just know I should get. yeah, I think after a certain point, once you've done that and you've paid your dues and you play the terrorist, for example, if you're an Asian actor and you played the terrorist, you played the roadman, you played the son of a corner shop worker, you've done all those like really horrible,
God.
yeah, all of those
Oh
things.
my God.
These parts still exist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Once you've done all that, then you can start to be a bit more choosy, and you can talk to your agent and be like, listen, I've done this. I did it because of this reason, but I'm not doing it again. So please don't. Please let's not do that again.
Yeah.
And more often than not, unless they'll always be like, yeah, okay, no worries. We'll scrap that off the list. But then there'll come a time where it's like, hey, so it's a terrorist part, but you get to act alongside Sean Bean, for example. And I was like, oh, okay. Oh, I love Sean Bean. Holy crap. So I took it. So I went for it and I got it. And the reason I did it was not because I thought it was an amazing part or, whatever. It was because I fucking love Sean Bean. And I've loved him since Lord of the Rings and he's incredible. So I got to work with Sean Bean and I got to do a scene with Sean Bean. And that experience in itself was so valuable that it was worth taking the L in terms of, the character I was playing. Because I know at the time, I remember when I played that character, I got a few messages from some of our mates at Chadwell Heath.
Yeah.
And they saw the show and they were like, yo, man, what are you doing?
Right. Like, bro, like, you're supposed to be flying the flag and you're doing the terrorist thing out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're shitting on, some of our Muslim friends Pakistani friends will be messaging me and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even think this far ahead. Like, I didn't even think about the impact that this character might have.
Yeah.
A negative impact, And then, after that, I was like, I can't do that. That was like I felt like I betrayed my mates, and that I was now like, I'm making money off creating stereotypes out of your people or your religion, And I was after that, I was like, no, never again. So that's again. My one.
You will never
again. That's my one red line. Yeah, I won't do that because there's no way you can play that sort of character, especially with the world that it is and the everyone's views on extremists of that religion, of that faith. There's no good spin you can put on it to make them more likable. They're always going to be the enemy. They're always going to be the villain in this story. No matter how handsome they are or how good they are, you're never going to like them.
Yeah.
So I had to, yeah. And some people, I know people that have made careers off just playing terrorists or just playing the nerdy Asian guy who sits at the computer the whole time. I've done that too. And again, I did it for career reasons, not for character reasons.
Yeah.
So now I'm crossing into a territory where I start making career choices for character reasons as opposed to the other way around.
Right.
So that's a new sort of stage. And I think Pandora, for me, is a really important part. Like, it's not out in the UK for another couple of days, but in terms of it's a landmark role for me because I'm playing an Indian American character as a British Indian person on an American network show, which for me is really important because it's like, this is what I need to do more of. And on top of that, the character was so much fun to play. So it wasn't like, oh, the experience was amazing, it's a shame the character was crap, or the other way around.
Yeah. This
is like, I really fucking enjoyed this job. I really enjoyed it. So, I just want people to enjoy watching it. Like, it's not, it's not a huge budget show, but it's got a lot of heart. It's got a lot of fun in it. It's got a lot of action and space battles and shit like that, and aliens, and that's kind of the world that I want to keep exploring. Is that sci-fi world?
It seems like there's a lot of support as well because I've noticed there's a lot of like viewership and like I've been on like the Instagram account of Pandora like time ago. I remember I think it was in the lockdown because I saw a clip of yours on your Instagram of you on it. I think it was a scene where I think you're in like a school corridor and then this like fight thing like starts building up. This fight scene starts building up. Am I right? There.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just saw like there's a lot of people following that series. So I think what you're saying is that you're going to be like breaking down barriers, just like with a film like probably on a bigger level Black Panther, because the whole cast was an all black cast, but the stereotypes were removed and it was this whole different context to the characters. And in your role, I imagine it's not going to be played on the typical stereotypes of someone with your skin would usually have, which is important because then it means more directors might then include people of the same hue for roles which are not about the terrorist or the nerd or
Precisely.
the roadman. So it's important.
Yeah, man, it is, and it's definitely, you know, to anyone who's faced that, been through that same struggle, you know, it's you got to remember you're in, if you're serious about doing this as a career, you're in it for the long term, man. This isn't like, there's no get rich quick scheme, there's no overnight celebrity, there's no, you know, one movie and you're set for life. Everyone thinks that going in. You know, I thought that going in. You know, after I did Homeland, I thought, oh, sick. Everything from here on is going to be either Homeland or better. You know, that was my first job out of drama school, and I thought, this is it. I'm done. I'm sorted.
Blown.
Like everybody else, I'm sorted. Yeah, but no, absolutely not. I was so wrong. But you got to keep in mind that you got to be a bit like a chess player. You know, you got to sort of plan your moves, and you got to, okay, if I lose the pawn here, that's cool, because I know in 3 moves time I'm going to have the queen up here. You know, so sometimes you take one for the team and you lose that piece. You're like, okay, I can afford to lose that. I can afford to do this part because it pays well. It's not very rewarding creatively or emotionally, but it pays well. So that covered me in order me to, for example, apply for like an American visa, which I know is expensive. So I need this money. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to invest in it. You know, so you have to, like, you know, there has to be a degree of calculation and strategic strategy. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm trying to consciously bring into my game now. And I think in the early days, it's okay to not be that strategic about what you're doing, because essentially you just want to work, and you need to work. You need to be on set. You need to be on stage. You need to have the one-liner parts. You need to just be in the background. You need to do all those things. That is a rite of passage. The first few years, definitely, like, it's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard.
It's the grind, man. It's the grind.
Absolutely, man. There is no shortcuts, and I think that's, you know, like, I love the American actors that I've worked with, but I think that's sometimes the difference between the US and the UK in terms of actors and their work ethics, is that getting your hands dirty, you know, the grind. It's not about being a celebrity in a year's time. It's not about being on red carpets. It's about, I love my job. I want to do my job, and I'm willing to do it in any sort of capacity for any sort of pay to begin with, before I get to a time where I have a bit more control over what I do and why I do it.
Wow.
So yeah, it's the long game, guys. It's the long game. 10 years later, I'm still here, so I ain't giving up yet.
That's
real
yet. Shit, man. That's real. You just spat some real game, man. Because it's funny. A lot of people. it's funny. Like, a lot of people, even myself, and you said for yourself as well. Like, looking at certain creative things, you think, okay, you just need a one moment where something gets big, someone big shares your profile or your work, or you're on a Hollywood platform, or, you know, you get a big role, or just something which would appear huge, and you think, yeah, from that moment it's just clockwork and that's me. But whenever you dive into it, it's never the way. And it's all, the real way is, it's about the work and the skill set, improving, and just I think just being in that flow, innit? Just being in the flow of being creative, getting better, and just craft. That's it. Like that and hard work. That seems to just be it.
Yeah, like, for every famous person, you know, for example, if for example, say Daisy Ridley in Star Wars, you know, who plays the lead in the new Star Wars films.
Yeah.
Everyone pitted her to be like, oh, she's just come out of nowhere. She was a nobody before. No, she wasn't. She was working for 5, 6, 7, 8 years prior to that. She was doing short films. She was writing her own stuff. She was a bit part in this movie and an extra in this TV show. No one is an overnight celebrity. An overnight celebrity is 10 years worth of work minimum. Do you know what I mean? Overnight success. So that's what I mean. I'm not saying because I'm coming up to 10 years that it's coming. Fine. It might take another 10 years. That's cool. I really don't mind. As long as I'm doing better work and I'm better in that better work. Like, as long as I can keep up with the new standards. So, for example, if you're working with like some A-listers, you're like, I need to up my shit. You know, you don't just walk in as yourself. You gotta step up to make sure you're on level, at least on par with what they're doing.
Yeah.
So people can be like, all right, cool. I see what you did there. Yeah. Well done.
You matched up.
Here's another one. Try this one. You know.
Yeah.
And that's it. So like, yeah, I think gratitude for every opportunity that you've had as an actor, good or bad, or in life, you know, there's always lessons to be learned. There's always something positive to take away from it.
One of the things,
essentially, what it's going to do. Go on.
Sorry, one of the things I actually wanted to get into about, you know, upping your game and gratitude for the work that you're doing, and you kind of touched on it briefly earlier. It's funny because I remember when I was in must have been year 8, and people were watching a lot of these YouTube videos of this comedian, this Indian comedian, obviously Russell Peters. And it's funny because years later, you actually managed to work with him on Indian Detective, right?
Yeah.
And then also, I saw that you, I watched a little bit of the movie as well today, actually, earlier today, Inside Man. You got to work with Ameen. So and probably there's probably loads of other names that you've worked with which I'm not aware of or haven't as explicitly seen, but those two are people that I just knew anyway. So I was like, right, I actually got to work with these two people. So on your end, what's it like working with, because I don't know, maybe in that time, when we were in year 8, Russell Peters was someone you watched, found funny, and were like, yeah, he's sick.
I was crazy about him, man. I loved, I'd quote him every day, all of us would. Everyone would be quoting Russell Peters around school and cussing each other with Russell Peters lines and shit like that. So he was very much part of the fabric of being a teenager at that time.
So what was it like to work with him? Or work with people of that you looked up to from afar, and now, wow, I'm actually in the same room as you and we're working together. What's that like? Even doing that scene where you're the stunt scene where you said you were actually in a fight scene with him, what's it like to be in that moment?
There's different ways you can go about handling it. I try more often than not. I try to be cool about it and fail. I don't initially let them, especially with Russell. Russell was probably other than Sean Bean, Russell was the first major person in my life that I met, grew up watching and then met. And when I first met Russell, he completely tore me apart.
Oh shit!
Properly tore me apart. Yeah.
In what way?
Oh my god. I think he cussed me the way I met him in the makeup truck, and I was getting my makeup done, and he came in with a big boombox on his shoulder, blasting Run DMC, I think it was, or was it NWA, one of the two, and he was just bopping around the makeup trailer, and he was like, "Who are you?" And I'm I'm Akshay, and he's like, "Oh, you got a weird face," or something like that, something weird like that. He just cussed my face, and I was just like, "What? Shit!" So I was like, "Oh, I ruined it. He hates me," and then you know, and then literally 2 weeks later, we were having lunch, and he called me to his trailer. He had this massive trailer. I had a little trailer. He had a huge trailer. And he was like, "Yo, come here." And I was like, "Oh no, okay." So I came over, and he invited me into his trailer, and we ended up drinking tequila together.
Oh, nice.
Just shotting tequila, and he was just so he would music playing, and after a couple, I was like, "Yo, Russ, I was trying to be really cool before, but I got to tell you, man, I grew up watching you my whole life, and I can't tell you how much of a fan I am." And this is only after a few drinks and a bit of time had passed where we sort of got comfortable with each other by this point.
Yeah,
and we worked together, and he respected what I was doing, and my ability and stuff. And then after that, we were sick. We got along really well, you know.
Yeah. How did you take that admission?
Yeah, and I sort of okay, I just gotta be real with you now, man, because I can't help but just be in awe of you. And I was completely in awe of him, you know, just starstruck the moment I met him.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Amel as well. The first time I met Amel was in Cape Town. Yeah, and again, I didn't think he liked me at first. I thought he hated me. I was like, why do I keep doing this? Why does everyone hate me? You know? And then, you know, after a couple of weeks of working together, we had this one scene in Inside Man, which I think is on my show reel, where he's just we're just cussing each other out. We're both American guys just cussing each other. And that was purely improv. And afterwards, we were just like in hysterics. And he was like, "Yo, that scene was sick." I'm like, that was fun. You know, so sometimes you need to give it a bit of time for someone. They want to size you up first. It's natural, especially, you know, for male actors to size each other up a little bit. You know, they do that in all walks of life, not just in what I do. But after you get past that, more often than not, you just end up really, really tight with these people. And then you're open to ask them questions about, you know, for a male especially, being like, you know, British as well. And like watching him in Kidulthood and watching him on Sense8 and watching him in like The Butler, and I'm like, oh my god, this guy's from Ends, and like, how do I do that? And he was incredibly open about it, man. He was incredibly like, no, this is what I did. This is what I'd advise that you do. Use this about you. Use this about you. Get in contact with this person, and then you really feel connected to this person because you feel connected to their experience and their history. And again, hasn't been plain sailing for anyone that I've met that I've admired. You know. I've met them at a time where they've got past the difficult stage, but they've definitely had the difficult stage. And at the time, I typically am in the difficult stage as I'm meeting them, so they can see that they can see where I'm at and be like, it's okay, you're going to get through that, because I know I've been through what you've been through, but you're going to get out of it, and then hopefully things get better. But like both really great people, man, really inspiring people. Amel just directed his first film, I think, his first feature film.
What's it called?
Which looks great. Oh god, I didn't actually see the title of it, but I saw like he's got trailers for it and stuff, and he's done it with a lot of finesse and a lot of class, you know, and that reflects him as a person. He's a really classy guy, you know. He's a really like smooth guy. He's proper smooth. He's a good dancer too, but he's a super like smooth. He'd make a great James Bond. I'm just gonna say it now. You know, he'd make a great James Bond because he's so fly. He's so fly. And Russell as well. Russell's really fly as well. But it's just hysterical, man. Sometimes you're just in awe of these people because they're so extraordinarily talented. They make you feel talentless. But then they're looking at you being like, all right, you got something. Cool. All right. Keep that going.
Give you a little boost, like your confidence to know, okay, like I'm confident in my own ability, but it's good to know that those that I respect and I've seen years before me in the game are, you know, showing that respect for my talent as well. It definitely adds weight.
Absolutely. It's ultimate like validation, man. You know.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
Yeah. And I guess in terms of the work you've done, I was because I wanted to ask what's the like most exciting project that you've worked on. And you know, I can think of a few just from an outside perspective that sounds sick. Obviously, Homeland is a big thing. Even like my girlfriend, I was speaking to her about having you jump on the podcast. And I was like, oh, you know, Akshay was on Homeland. She's like, what? I watched Homeland, like I watched the whole thing like back to back. And I was like, yeah. So obviously, you know, projects like Homeland, also Star Wars. I mean, just the size of that franchise, just even being on that, bro. You have an actual Star Wars wiki page for your character. You know?
Do I?
Yeah, you do, bro. You do. I did my research. You actually have one, and I was like, this is mad. This is a madness.
I had no idea. What the fuck?
Yeah. So obviously those would sound like exciting projects to be on, but maybe there's a project which was less in the lights and more about the, you know, the character or the type of story it was, which really challenged you deeply or resonated with you deeply, where you enjoyed it the most. But it would be interesting to hear what it is like from both perspectives. First, like I guess the glitzy type of projects, and then also the ones that, even though they may not be the headline, were really enjoyable and I guess challenging to be a part of.
Yeah. Oh man, so I think in terms of because of the sheer size of it, Star Wars has to be top of the list in terms of just walking in and being completely overwhelmed by the, you know, the size of everything and who's in it and how big the sets are, and, you know, being on the spaceship and all that kind of stuff. As an experience was like, I was a fan. I've been a fan of Star Wars my entire life. So to finally consolidate that in like a small part in episode 8 was like, Oh crap! Okay, cool. So yeah, I remember, the most amazing part, to be honest, was not the filming of my bits itself. It was everything before and after that. So I met some like idols. I met Benicio del Toro briefly. I met Adam Driver briefly. I had a half an hour conversation with Daisy Ridley on the steps of my trailer. So I met John Boyega very briefly as well. He walked past me. I met JJ Abrams. I bumped into JJ Abrams, like literally bumped into his shoulder and turned around and went, "Oh, sorry, dude," to JJ Abrams, and I didn't even know who he was at the time. And I was like, "Oh shit, what have I done?" They have so much money, and when you have loads of money, you tend to get treated very well. On top of being very nice people as well. Thankfully, they're also very nice people.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was Star Wars was probably the big, like the first time I've walked on set and been like, holy shit, like this is huge, But in terms of most enjoyable project or most rewarding project, I would have to say was The Halcyon. And The Halcyon was a period drama set in 1940s London, and it's from the creators of Downton Abbey, and The Crown. They did those. And The Halcyon, I was playing an immigrant Indian barman at the Halcyon Hotel, which was like equivalent of the Savoy.
Right.
It's like a 5-star, super glam, see whatever during the 40s. And he was also a closeted gay character as well. So in terms of, that was the first time I'd done that. And had the most amazing storyline, and in terms of the sets were amazing, the cast were amazing. There's a mixture of Brits and Americans, and it was a real, like, probably the most heartfelt storyline I think I've ever been a part of. And I wasn't aware of the impact that my character and the relationship my character had, the romantic relationship had with one of the other guys, had until I started getting loads of fan mail for the first time in my life.
Yeah.
And that was really something, because I didn't really pay too much attention to the fact that the character was homosexual, and it was just like, okay, cool, great, cool. And essentially boil it down to something you can manage at times. Like, okay, well, I have to kiss another guy, that's not a problem. Okay, great. You just kind of get on with it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until the show came out that I started getting a lot of messages from young teenage boys and girls who were struggling to come out to their parents about their sexuality. And someone sent me a really, like, a 7-page handwritten letter about the struggle that they had with their own sexuality, and then coming out after they'd watched the show, somehow had been given the strength through performance to come out to their parents, and how liberating it had been. And I'm sitting there like, oh my God, I did not think about any of this. Like, you don't really think about the impact your character. You just hope they're going to like your character. That's like the bottom line. As long as they like my character, then great. As long as they think I'm good, then great. But you never really think in terms of, like, emotionally how people are going to connect with the character that you play. So I think in terms of rewarding, the most rewarding character would have to be that one from The Halcyon. Just because it completely...
Yeah, that's different. That's impact. That's impact, and even legacy, because for that person, they'll remember you for the rest of their life for being able to do that. Like, real talk. Yeah, they will, because that's a powerful moment in someone's life that you've created.
Yeah, with no sort of intent to do so. And I think it's probably better than going out being like, right, this character is going to touch millions of lives. Because if you go out thinking that, you're already trying too hard to create something out of, you're trying to force an experience for someone to have. But yeah, I'm never trying to think about the sort of social or emotional consequences of my character on an audience member. I can't really think that far ahead. I can't predict how someone's going to react to it. But what I can try to do is be true to the character at the time I'm shooting, and then just pray that they get it. They get what he's about, or they get what he's doing, or what he's going through. So yeah, Star Wars being the most glitzy, Halcyon being the most rewarding, and Pandora being the most fun, I think. Let's say that. So I've got those 3 bases covered.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
That's a good range. Good range.
Yeah.
Do Do you actually? Because I know you mentioned fan mail to me before. I think when we were in the park, actually, we had a conversation because obviously there's another actor, Akshay Kumar, who is he more based in Bollywood productions, right?
He's a Bollywood actor. Yeah, he's also about 55. I think.
Yeah, and a lot older as well. So I remember you saying that a lot of the fan mail coming in was like stuff for him, right? But I would be really interested to find out what, like, if you have any mad stories about being recognized somewhere random, or like just something which blew your mind, like, oh, this person like is really on my shit that you weren't expecting.
Yeah.
Has anything like that happened?
A couple times, yeah. The first time I can remember was it was New Year's Eve, and I'd done the Halcyon maybe a year before, and it was New Year's Eve, and it was me. Funnily enough, it was me, Darius, O'Dane, Jamie, and my mate Rav and his brother.
Come on! Yeah, sorry.
we were at, it was mad. It was so random, and I think we were at Dirty Martini in St Paul's, like typical bar in London, and I was like dancing. It might have been like 10 minutes to midnight, and I was dancing around, and this guy just sort of like stopped me. And he's like, "Yo!" I'm like, "Yo!" And obviously, when you're in a club and you're dancing, and another guy says, "Yo," you just assume they want to like smack you or something.
Yeah.
They just want to kick off with you. So I'm still dancing, and he's like, "Yo!" I'm like, "Yeah," and he goes, and he's like, "Are you him?" As in like my name. And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Are you man?" I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "What do you mean? What am I doing here? I'm getting drunk. What are you doing?"
Living life.
It was so random, and I was like, yeah. And he's like, "Oh mate, this is sick. I thought you were from like the US." I'm like, "No, I'm from London." So then we ended up getting a drink together and like cheersing and stuff like that, and it was cool. So that was the first time. Another time so when I was going back and forth from South Africa for a different job, every time I go through Heathrow Airport, someone would like, I get stopped by security.
Right. Yeah. Oh,
dude with a beard.
Well, yeah.
I got stopped every time, and then one guy, an Indian security guard, stopped me one time, and I was like, "Are you serious?"
like, bro, really? Come on.
And he's like, "Yeah, we're the same. What are you doing?" And then so they would ask you like, "Oh, so where are you going this time?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to South Africa." "Oh, what for?" "Shooting a movie." "Oh, you're shooting a movie? Oh, great." And then he would just be like, suddenly forget that he's like frisking you as he's chatting to you.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, "Oh, so what is it? Can you tell me anything about it?" And kind of stuff like that. So after about 10 minutes of him frisking my suitcase and all this kind of stuff, he was like, "Can I get an autograph?" I was like, "Dude, you just like violated me for 50 minutes. You want an autograph? Are you kidding?" So I was like, I gave it to him. I was like, "I don't think it's gonna be worth anything, dude. If I'm honest." He's like, "Oh no, man, it's cool. I like meeting actors at the airport." I'm like, "Okay, cool." Yeah, so that was crazy, man. And then one time I was at a concert. I was at Russell Peters' gig actually, because for my brother's 18th, Russell was actually he was coming to London for a show. So I asked Russell if I could buy some tickets for his show, and he ended up giving me and my brother free tickets to his show, which was wonderful.
Oh, that's sick.
And I'm sitting in the audience, and there's a whole row of Indians behind me who spotted me and like, "You're an Indian detective," and I'm like, "Yeah, hi." And then and I was like, "I'm gonna watch the show now, sorry." And then they were like whispering about me for about 10 minutes afterwards. And I was just like, my brother's like looking back at them and smiling and like, "Stop looking at them."
She's gassed. She's gassed that her son's getting the recognition. Like, ooh.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I don't deal with that stuff too well. I got better at it. But at the beginning, first of all, I thought everyone was lying. I was like, "No, you don't know who I am. You're lying. You're just, you want something else." But then I started to appreciate that. Oh, they actually do respect the work that I do. Okay, cool. So if it ever happens again, I'll handle it. I'll handle it better. We'll see.
That's nice. Yeah. I think another thing that I'm curious to hear, because obviously as you do become more prominent in the acting world and people start recognizing you, that comes with obviously fanship and praise and recognition, but it can also come with more criticism or more kind of negativity, which obviously in creative world, you know, in the creative world, you get different opinions, different views, and you, I guess you have to build a facility to be comfortable with that, but everyone has a different strategy of dealing with that. So for yourself, especially because, you know, you mentioned the drama center experiences, and, you know, you're essentially under a microscope from that moment. How do you, on a personal level, or how have you come to deal with criticism as an actor, especially when you're pouring yourself into your work? So how do you deal with that?
Well, it's hard. I think, you know, when for example, when a project you've done or worked really hard on comes out, the first thing you can do is like type it in Google and see what the reviews. That's always the worst thing you could possibly do. You know, and you can't. It's almost a compulsion. You know, it's a compulsion. You just, because you just pray. You're praying that people will like it as much as you liked doing it, but very rarely does that happen. So you know, when you start, like, you can read one negative review in a list of 1,000 great reviews, but your brain will cling to the negative review, and that would define your day. Is that so? I've tried my best to stop doing that. You know, Monday morning is when I'd crash course Google and be like, season 2 episode something review, and then read every review and just be like, I want to die. So that's bad. So don't do that. I try to be very I've sort of let go of Instagram a little bit. Like, I still have it, but I don't really. I try to be quite strict myself. Only if it's work related do I post. I try not to post personal stuff, just because I don't really think I live an exciting enough of a life outside of my work for anyone to give a shit, really. You know, because I think, because I'm like, I don't give a shit about what people are really getting up to in their lives. So why would people give a shit about mine? Therefore, why should I post about it? Therefore, why should they post about it? You know, so I try not to get caught up with like posting about
the whole fabric of social media right there.
Precisely. Yeah. You know, everyone's highlight reels of the best bits of their year. I'm like, I don't really. So I try to be very strict with myself in terms of exposure to social media. I don't put a lot of like opinions out there in terms of, you know, it's very easy to tweet an opinion. And I know people have, you know, not that I literally have like 1,000 followers, but I don't express like political reviews, political opinions or social opinions or, you know, whatever. I not that I don't have anything to say. I know that can spiral into something. We live in a very fickle world where you can get in trouble for saying the wrong pronoun, which is completely understandable. Of course, I support that, but honest mistakes are made. And as long as you can look at it and be like, listen, I'm sorry, I screwed up there, then cool. But I'd rather avoid the situation altogether, if I'm completely honest. And in terms of just like day-to-day life, I just try to do normal stuff, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's really important to just stay grounded as a human, despite success as an actor or relative success as an actor. You know, everyone has to do the chores. Everyone needs to hoover their house. Everyone needs to wash dishes. Everyone needs to take the garbage out. Everyone needs to pay taxes and, you know, do driving tests. I don't know, whatever. So that stuff I really rely on to keep me grounded, as like, you know, playing football or, you know, doing all sorts of stuff. That stuff just keeps me from worrying too much about what people think about me. And I know probably with this next step that I'm trying to take in my career, the microscope might get a little bit more, might get a bit tighter. But you know, I focus on doing good work and being a good person. So I'm not really fussed about anything either side of that or outside of that realm. Those are my two main priorities. Being a good person is probably more important than being a good actor, if I'm completely honest, because you can be a great actor but an absolute dickhead.
Yeah,
and those guys aren't fun. Those guys aren't fun to be around, if we're honest. But yeah, I think you know, limiting. I think the big one is probably regulating your use of social media. Like, I've had a couple people message me, or on Instagram, because they're aspiring to be actors, and the first thing they seem to think about, somehow, between me becoming an actor and people becoming actors now, some people are now like, oh, I have a lot of followers on TikTok. I'm like, okay,
Right.
what? So
Yeah.
what do you want me to do about that? And he's like, oh, can you help me? Oh, there's nearly an accident outside my door. Holy crap!
Oh shit!
Yeah, two cars nearly just like T-boned each other.
It's all right though. No one got hit.
It's bad. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. But yeah, but I feel like, like if you want to be an actor, you got to get your priorities straight. And people can get caught up with like, oh, I don't have enough followers on Instagram to be an actor, or I don't have enough followers on Twitter, or whatever. I need to post more selfies every day. No, you don't. You need to focus on being a good actor, because essentially that means more than anything else.
Yeah, that's the cream.
So I try to just advise people to just be really good at your job. Aim to be really good at the thing you want to be good at. Don't just talk about it. Don't just don't just focus on the wrong stuff, because anyone can be a YouTube sensation nowadays. It seems like anyone can be like a TikTok millionaire in overnight. One video is gonna define your life and change everything. But I think I'm kind of old school like that, where I don't really believe in that stuff. I don't put any stock in it. Probably why it takes me longer than everybody else to get famous, quote unquote famous. Well, I think it's about having your priorities straight, man. So I would advise people just focus on being really good at your job, because even if you're in a show that was received really badly, or the reviews are crap, but you're good in it, you're never going to be criticized personally, because the show can be shit. You can still be great. You can still work after this show. It's not the end of the road if this show is shit.
Yeah.
As long as you're good. So it's about making the most of a unfavorable situation. And you can only do that if you're focusing on the right stuff. If your priorities are straight, if your head is straight, if you're focused on the performance and the character, then you'll be fine. You'll always be fine. If you get caught up with, I want to post 1 million times because I need this amount of followers, that's going to lead you down a fame route, or it's going to drive you mental, and you're going to end up like doing something stupid in order to get famous.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude. I get so on my high horse when it comes to social media, man. I really struggle with it, and I've done for years.
It's a tool, isn't it?
If I just go off on one.
Yeah, it's a tool, isn't it? And how you use it is obviously dependent on your character as a person, what you're trying to achieve. I think it's very good for obviously building awareness to your own pursuits and what you're trying to do. And I think it can get very murky in terms of fame and wanting to be known for something, and obviously that spawned from insecurity, and you've probably in that journey of self-discovery realized actually that's not necessarily what I want. I want to be known for being good at my craft, but I don't necessarily want to be just known for the sake of being known, like I'm famous, I'm that person that's going to walk into the red carpet and everyone's like, oh my god, it's blah blah blah. It's more about I want to practice I want to do my craft, be known for being good at my craft, and live that way. So I'm with you on that. I understand that perspective. And I think
I'll calm down a bit on that topic.
No, it's important. The craft is important. Like even myself, like I know that there was a point where I was stuck on numbers, not necessarily doing this, but just previously, where I would think a lot about numbers. But I think you come to a point where you realize actually the joy is just in doing the thing and learning and getting better, and those nights where you're like staying up till late just trying to get that one little thing better just because you're in your shit. And it might sound sad or depressive to some people, like, oh, you stayed up till that late doing but then it's like, no, I managed to squeeze something out of this and get some gold from this stone that looked impenetrable. Like I love that and it sounds like you're in the same way of thinking too.
I think so. There's a degree of obsession that is a healthy obsession because you love what you do, and you're willing to all night to try and get it right, or to try and perfect it just that little bit further, you know. Yeah, but then you can accept, you know, the hard part is stepping away and be like, okay, I'm happy with it as it is now. Cool,
yeah.
I can step away, because that's a compliment. You're never going to be truly happy, otherwise you could die tomorrow and be like, I've lived a good life. Nah, I'm not ready for that. You know?
Yeah.
Not ready for that yet.
So it's a balancing
But
act,
no,
man.
No, I'm glad we're on the same page about that.
Yeah, it's a balancing act, and I think that's a good way to round up, man. It's been sick having you on, bro.
Yeah.
I've really loved it. Like,
Likewise, man.
bro. So one of the things I like to do with the podcast is cut lots of clips from it of different nuggets that people can take. Bro, there's gonna be so many gems in here. Like, I'm telling you, it's gonna take me time to cut through this, because there's gonna be many little gems. No, it's good, bro. It's good content. And for the people listening that want to follow your journey and, you know, watch some of the things you've been in. So obviously we mentioned Homeland, Star Wars Episode 8, the Pandora series, which is releasing in 2 days, 12th of Jan.
4 days.
4 days.
14th of Jan, yeah.
14th of Jan. Check that out. Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Sci-Fi Channel, actually.
Oh, Sci-Fi Channel. Like on Sky. Oh, and shit. Prime, yeah. Oh, Amazon Prime. Yeah, okay, Amazon Prime. Well. Sick. Yeah. I'm definitely going to be checking out season 2, man. You're a recurring role in the season, right? So, my guy.
I'm in all the episodes, which is quite fun.
Yeah, man. For people that want to follow the wider journey of Akshay, where can they find you, bro?
Oh man, I'm I'm on Instagram more often than I am on Twitter. My Instagram, what's it called? Handle? Yeah, is at callme.shay, Shay spelled CHE _. So that's callme.che _, and that's me. And I think on Twitter I'm at Akshay04 Kumar. So that's a bit easier to remember if anyone's interested. Say hi.
Sick, man. Thanks so much for being on the podcast, bro. I really appreciate it. And what I really love is getting to learn more about just what it is that people are doing, like the real depth and the dirt and the like the journey that people have gone through, rather than just the headline. So I think a lot of people listening, they'll get that. So even people who maybe want to become actors, or people who are just very curious to know what is actually going on, this will be very insightful for them, bro. So thanks for listening, everyone. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll look forward to your viewership in future podcasts. Thanks very much. Bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
Hey, so thanks for watching this episode on Garden of Edun. If you haven't already, please like, share and subscribe. If you have, of course, got some value from this. Also, if you want to see more content from me, and little bits of the show before they go live, please follow either my Instagram channel at Dami Edun, or the podcast Instagram channel at Garden of Edun _. And yeah, I'll be looking to give you some more content on those platforms.